Welcome to Azure Tooth. This is a very late homework video. It's due tomorrow, but it is what it is. Let's start. So they're asking me to find all the factors and roots for the following equations. So when you talk about factoring, you do, how do I say this that makes sense? Imagine it's a problem, right? And each problem has its own way of solving, right? So if you have tire problems, you have to do some other steps to fix that. If you have a brake problems, you're going to have to look at something else to fix that. Same thing applies with functions and quadratic as well. So looking here, what do you notice? I see that there's two terms here, right? Only one of them has an x in them. So if you're trying to find the roots, right, I can think of two different ways of solving it, and we're going to do both the ways of solving them. So basically when you're finding the roots, you're solving for when x equals 0, right? I mean y equals 0. So you're trying to find the x-intercepts. That's what they mean. Since there's only one x here, you can isolate that. So the first way you can do it is isolate if there's only one x, right? If the entire equation has only one x, you can isolate that, right? By adding 162, you get 162 equals 2x squared. You can divide by 2. So x squared equals 81. When you square root both the sides, you get x equals positive negative 9, and that becomes your roots, x-intercepts. The second way I can think of is figuring out a way to get difference of squares. See, it's already subtracting, right? I just have to figure out a way that I get squares on both the terms. So I see that both of them have a 2 in them. So if I factor out a 2, I get x squared minus 81, and 81 is a perfect square. So and they're all being subtracted, so if I split them, x squared becomes x times x, negative 81 becomes negative 9 and positive 9. So your x-intercepts are the value that makes this 0, which is 9, and the value that makes this 0, which is negative 9. So you get the same answer, negative 9 and positive 9. Now part B, you cannot do isolation here because two x's are there. There are two x's, right? One x, second x. So you can isolate that. But they both have an x in common, so you can factor that out. You get x times x minus 4. So x-intercepts are 0 and 4. Here, they have nothing. 3, 16, and 20 have nothing in common as together. None of them have an x in them. So what we have to do is the diamond method, right? Or the x method or the diamond method, factoring. So a times c, you're trying to find a times c, which is 60, and then negative 16. So then the question is, what factor of 60 gets you negative 16? And it's negative 10 and negative 6. So you do 0 equals 3x squared minus 10x minus 6x plus 20. What do the first two have in common? Well, they have nothing. They have an x in common. That's the only thing they have in common. You're left with 3x minus 10. What do these two have in common? They have a negative 2 in common. You're left with 3x minus 10. So your factors are 3x minus 10 and x minus 2. So your x-intercepts are, set this equal to 0, 3x minus 10 equals 0, x equals 10 thirds. Set this equal to 0 and x equals 2. Perfect. Now working on this, let's try to find a times c, which is 80, and then 24, 20, and 4. That's 24. 20 times 4 is 80, so it's x squared plus 20x plus 4x plus 80. Factor them, x times x plus 20 plus 4 times x plus 20. You get x plus 4, x plus 20. So x equals negative 4 and negative 20. Cool. Question number 2. Is x minus 4 a factor? Well, to figure out if it's a factor, you don't have to factor. Okay? So if x minus 4 is a factor, that means the x-intercept is at 4. So if I plug it in here, I should get 0 because it's 4 comma 0. Okay, because it's 4 comma 0, right? for any x-intercept, y is 0. So if they're saying x minus 4 is a factor, that means the x-intercept is a 4. That means if I plug it in, I should get a 0. 4 cubed is 64. 4 squared is 16. So negative 4 times 16 is negative 64. Negative 8 plus 8. So that does equal 0. But you're not done here, right? You have to specifically say that yes, x minus 4 is a factor of the function because when I plugged in 4, I got 0. X minus 4 is a factor of f of x because f of 4 equals 0. Right? Perfect. Now, question number 3. This is cubic, and there is only one way you have learned to find the factors of it, is factor by grouping. So group them. What do the first two have in common? They all have an 4x square, so you're left with x minus 16. These have negative 1 in common, so you're left with x minus 16. So your equation is 4x square minus 1 x minus 16. Now this is a perfect square. 1 is a perfect square, 4x square is a perfect square, so you get 2x, 2x minus 1, 2x plus 1, x minus 16. So your x's are 1/2, negative 1/2, and 16. Now these two, pair them, you get x squared times x minus 1, negative 1 times x minus 1. So it's x squared minus 1, x minus 1. So your factors are x minus 1, x plus 1, difference of squares, and then x minus 1. So your x-intercepts are 1, negative 1, and 1. Perfect. Question number 4. Which of the following are factors? Well, if there are factors, if you plug in 1 here, so fx minus 1 is a factor, that means x equals 1 is an x-intercept. So if you plug it in here, you should get a 0. 1 cubed plus 2 minus 5 minus 6. That does not equal 0, so this is not a factor. If you plug in negative 2, you get negative 8. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is positive 8. And then positive 10 minus 6 does not equal 0. Yep. Anyway, you guys can do that, right? Plug in negative 3 and plug in 6, see if you get a 0 or not. Now, question number 5. Select all true statements about p of x equals 3x cubed minus 16x squared minus 14x minus 24. So, the degree is 3, that means it's odd. The constant term is negative 24, that means it's negative. Right? And the leading coefficient is positive. These are all the information that you have. So what things actually matter to find the end behavior? This matters and this matters. The fact that the leading coefficient is positive and the degree is odd, that's what matters. Meaning, and every single time when you're given this question, graph it, just graph the end behavior if that helps you. And if it's positive odd, the end behavior looks like this. Right? It's increasing over time. That's what positive does. It increases over time. If it's negative odd, your graph is actually looking like that. That's the opposite thing, right? Positive even, that means your graph is increasing up on both the sides. Negative and even, that means your graph is going down on both the sides. But this one is positive and odd. So then the question is, what is happening? As x is going towards infinity, towards the right, y is going towards infinity. Is that true? So as you go right, does your graph go up forever? You cannot see, right? Okay. As you go right, your graph does go up forever, right? So it is positive infinity. So E is one of them, A is one of them, D is one of the answers, and I is one of the answers. But now there is one more. There is 1, 2, 3, 5. Oh, okay, perfect. Now which one is that? As you go negative infinity, your graph is going down, so it's going negative infinity as well. So it's H, A, D, E, H, I. Perfect. Question number 6. Solve the system of equations. How do we do that? Well, if you're given two equations, the first step is set them equal to each other. Okay, this is already in standard form. If it were not, you would have to convert to standard form. Get one side equal to 0. you get 0 equals x squared minus x minus 2. See if you can use diamond method. -2, -1, so it's 2 plus 1, so 0 equals x squared minus 2x plus x minus 2. Basically I was trying to find two numbers that multiply to get -2 and add to get -1. That's what I just did. Factor, you get x times x minus 2 plus 1 times x minus 2. So your factors are x plus 1 and x minus 2. So your x-intercepts are -1 and positive 2. You plug it into one of this. The easier one is this one. If you plug in -1, you get -1 out of it. If you plug in 2, you get 5. So your answer is x equals -1, y equals -1, x equals 2, y equals 5. Cool. Going to the next question. Consider the function below. What is the y-intercept? Well, to find the y-intercept, we first just plug in 0 for x, right? Because y-intercept x is 0, so you get f of 0 equals negative times 0 plus 1 times 0 plus 4 times 0 minus 2, and you get negative times 1 times 4 times -2, which is positive 8. So y-intercept is positive 8. What is the end behavior? To figure out the end behavior, look at the leading coefficient, which is negative, degree, which is how many factors there are. There are 3. So if I graph this, it's odd, right? So it has opposite end behavior, and since it's negative, it means it should be decreasing over time, and since it's odd, it's going to be opposite end behavior. That means it's coming down as time, as you know, passes. So how would you say that? So you have to say, as x goes to -infinity, y, as x goes to left, y is going up, so it's positive infinity. As x goes to positive infinity, y is going towards negative infinity. Together they complete the end behavior. Perfect. Question number 8. At what times do the ball and the drone have the same height? So that means you're trying to find these two equations where they intersect. So set them equal to each other. 2t equals -5t squared plus 10t plus 20. Now it's already in standard form, so get one side equal to 0. Now I don't know if there are factors of -100 that gets you 8, so you might have to use quadratic formula, and it's x equals -b plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac all over 2a. Now what do the points of this graph mean in the context of the problem? Well, it means where they intersect, right? The points where they intersect, it means that's where the flying drone and the ball thrown upward intersect. Right? Perfect. Next question. Question number 9. You're given this, what is the reasonable domain? So if you look at the graph, this is the volume, right? So anything that makes sense here is positive. That means the only thing that makes sense here are these values. This does not make sense. So you have to stop right here. How do you find that point? Well, it's easily you can easily see it from here that it's 10, but what if you cannot see it on the quiz or on the test? How would you find it? Well, you look at it. These are the x-intercepts. So if you go back to the function, you find your x-intercepts. Here x-intercept is 0, 10 and 13. Now, which is more likely for this to be? It's going to be 10. So your domain is between 0 and 10. Now, if I were to draw a line at 600 and say, what does it mean in terms of like what do the intersection points mean, right? Well, you can say that within our domain there are 2 points, 2 x values that gets you 800 or 600, right? Is it 600? Yep. There are two x values that gets you 600. The third one is outside your domain. That's what you say, right? And it's actually on their test as well, right? You talked about? Perfect. Moving on, question number 10. Label the roots and the y-intercept. So the first thing, what are your roots? -2, 1, and 1, right? Since it's twice, you're going to write 1 twice. So I'm going to say -2 is here and +1 is here. What is the y-intercept? Plug in 0 for x. F of 0 equals 2 times -1 squared. You get 4. So it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How do I graph it? Well, I know it's positive, so it's increasing over time. So it's like increasing is going to come back down. And at 1, it's going to bounce back because it happens twice. Yep. Perfect. So that's the graph of it. Perfect. Given a graph, write a factored form of it. So let's do that. What are your x-intercepts? -1. This 2 is going to happen twice, right? So you're going to say x plus 1, x minus 2 squared, y equals a. You're going to have to find your a by looking at this. This is -2. So let's figure it out. So -2 equals a. 0 plus 1, 0 minus 2 squared. Again, I use this point is 0, -2, right? Times 1 times 4. So a equals -1/2. Because you do -2 over 4, which is -1/2. So your equation is y equals -1/2 x plus 1 x minus 2 squared. Perfect. Moving on to the next one. Again, you're graphing it. That's perfect. So your x-intercepts are -1, 1, and -3. So I'm going to say -1 is here, -2 is here, -3 is here, and then 1 is here, just to spread them out. Now, to figure out the y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. That's your, we know that, right? Plug in 0 for x. You get 1, -1, and 3 becomes negative, so it's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say 6 is over here. Now, which direction am I coming from? Since it's negative, I'm gonna come up from up. I'm gonna go down, cross at -1, bounce back at 6, and go down forever. That's my graph. Perfect. Given a graph, write a factored form of it. You have x-intercepts are -1, -1, 2 and 2, so it's x plus 1 squared, x minus 2 squared, y equals a. You use 0, -2 to figure it out. -2 equals a. 0 plus 1 squared minus 2 squared, -2 equals 4a. So a is again -1/2. So y equals -1/2 x plus 1 squared, x minus 2 squared. And that's pretty much it. This is the end of the video. Oh wow, look at that. Only 20 minutes. Alright, perfect. Well, good luck on your test tomorrow, guys. I'll see you all later.